There was a lot that had gone down in the house while we were there.
What the hell?
We started to get a lot of really clear, pretty upsetting results.
You hear that? It's like a heartbeat.
I hear it.
Yeah.
Physically upsetting.
What the hell was that?
This place blew everybody away. We were overwhelmed with the amount of evidence that came out of that house, and so we had to go back.
You're entering home.
I first heard of the Michael Ward house actually when I was about 6. I knew Kathy for my whole life. She lived there maybe 6 years, I think. Can't remember.
That was my stomach. It made some kind of noise.
The house was really nice when they lived in it. I can still remember you'd walk in.
Still 0 point nothing.
The floors were pristine. They repainted the walls. They did that whole house. The house was really pretty.
Boy, I do remember the smell of this place.
Now they just let it go, and it's crazy to see it like that.
Upon entering, we come into the kitchen, and right there on the counter facing us
Well, that's creepy. What is this?
is this rather grotesque illustration.
To Becca with love, Kathy.
It had Kathy's sister's name on it with a little drawing of a girl.
It's really a creepy, unusual picture. This girl with these wide, bloodshot eyes that are like piercing into your soul.
But at the time we first saw it, we didn't understand exactly how weird it was.
That's a really creepy picture.
That picture had been drawn by Jay's wife, Kathy, long before it was abandoned.
And Kathy actually remembers drawing that.
She even remembers throwing it in the garbage.
It had gotten thrown away years ago.
She's like, how did that even come about? It's like, that makes no sense.
They lived there when she was a child. They moved out. Another family moved in. That family moved out, and the property sat abandoned. Yet this drawing, made over a decade ago, just appears on the kitchen counter.
No one saw this drawing in the first investigation. We looked all over that house, in every closet, on every shelf.
Nobody ever came across that photo.
It really kind of got to me. This drawing was not in that house. It just manifested there. After all these years, what is it doing there? It was like it was meant for us to find.
Alright, I want to document this. Right after we found the drawing on the counter, we also found
Here on the desk, you can't tell in night
an
vision,
unburnt ritual candle,
but there's a black, orange, and red candle.
also on the kitchen counter.
Very strange things have been happening in this house in between our investigations here.
What type of weird stuff they've been doing with that, I don't know.
It's impacting the spiritual energy in the house, no doubt.
I don't think we brought all our tripods.
The energy was quite different.
I had gone back. You guys had been there investigating prior. And we walked in, and that feeling that we got when we all came in the first time, we didn't feel it. Somebody must have attempted to do a cleansing at some point. Because it smelled like sage.
So this time it's just me and Tom.
Alright, still getting 0.0.
We had to walk around the house to make sure that no animals, no people in the house.
Living room?
No surprises, right? So we go check it out first with a camera and
Going up the
stuff.
stairs. No EMF off the light switch.
I think our baseline is 0 loss.
We threw our full arsenal of investigative tools
Testing. 1, 2.
that we had at the time at this location.
Me and Tom get a basic reproduction of the sort of setup that we had last time, minus the baby powder. And we have that control mic sitting outside to make sure that any weird noises that happen outside aren't perceived as being paranormal activity on the inside of the house.
That's got an accelerometer on it, which picks up vibrations emanating through the surface.
And our control mic records this odd crashing. And I hear it inside. It's plenty loud.
Hear that? I did.
It sounds like it's some neighbor dumping trash into his trash can. The only problem is that there's no houses immediately around this house.
Anyway, so this device will read temperature and if there's vibrations. We heard footsteps in here.
Pretty good stomp to get it to
We brought our new
go off.
geophone, which has an accelerometer on it, which listens to vibrations.
This is gross.
Smells better than the dead raccoons. My garbage can't work.
Once again, we use our Ovilus, put it in phonetic mode, where it can take those changes in the environment that it detects, those 4 channels that it listens to, and generates phonetic syllables based on those changes. So when you get a lot of changes going on at once, it'll spit out a number of syllables, and sometimes you can string them together and they sound like words.
We finish with our equipment setup.
All right, this is Marty and Tom.
Hello.
We've been here before. We are aware that there's a spirit in this house. What we'd like to do first is just to have you go ahead and make your presence known to us. We're right here in your living room. I'm not going to try to banish you or anything. This stuff isn't here to hurt you.
In my hand, I have a little bit of light that is attached to a recording device. It will be able to hear what you have to say.
Come forward.
We started conducting this EVP session and we heard some movement right there in the house.
A movement sound to the left. You can come closer.
And you can hear the little synthetic component to it. Something moved in that kitchen.
There's definitely a sound in there. That's in phonetic mode, right?
Yes. At one point, I'm sitting off to the side, and I see a couple blinks of light come from the stairwell. See if the leaky box is pulsing.
Yeah, the static detectors are in flux.
The static field generators, which we had set up on the stairs there, started to fluctuate.
See if the leaky box is pulsing. They glow when something interrupts that field that these things produce. See if the leaky box is pulsing.
They're really excellent monitors of the weak static fields present in that room, because if you're still and those things are in flux, that means that some weak body of electrostatic energy is either moving towards that radiating antenna off of that piece of equipment or moving away from it.
And we saw these things glow this night.
As you can see, I turned on this device that you can use to gather up energy to interact with us.
There's plenty of power here for you to use. Use this energy to communicate with us, please.
And at this point, we get a Class B vocal tone EVP.
There's a lot we could do to maybe even help you.
You can clearly hear a response to an EVP question that Marty asks.
There's a lot we could do to maybe even help you.
And we all have differing opinions of what it might have said.
We don't respond to it, and you can hear it reverb. And this particular sound was not tagged, and we do tag every single little bodily noise that comes out of us during these investigations.
Do you not want us here?
On this night, we were there for hours. We were there all night long. And we had no interaction with REM pod, which was so contrary to our first visit at this location.
Light it up.
Here's a difference. Something is very different about this house this time.
Please come out and talk to us.
It went from being active and curious
Make it a lot easier to talk to you
to being mostly reluctant.
if we knew what your name was.
Doesn't look like the ball is moved.
Pat?
When possible, we try to steer away from letting that ovulus guide our investigative questions.
Is that your name?
We don't want to get dragged down some rabbit hole where we're asking about Pat when there's nobody there named Pat.
Heard something. Behind you?
Yeah, back here.
There was also one very interesting audio anomaly.
Can you do that again?
This audio anomaly that Tom picked up on his camera audio.
How many people are here? Can you say?
You get this weird popping noise.
How many people are here?
It's not a frequency pop.
Can you say?
This is a different sort of a pop. More like a really organic sort of.
Sounds like a bubble popping.
Can you say?
It just appeared on the one audio source.
Only on the camera audio.
Can you say?
None of the other microphone sources picked up this sound.
How many people are here? Can you say?
For all we know, maybe it was a spirit that was trying to communicate and it broke through as a pop.
Can you say?
This is what the field of Fortean anomalistics is all about.
Because we'd really like to know.
After this investigation, our associate investigator, Joe, goes to this place with Tracy.
You want us to stay? Move that ball.
I was having dreams about the house.
Just 1 inch.
I wanted to go back. I had no explanation as to why.
Tracy ends up getting scratched in the house.
That is such a weird spiritual drawing, though. Weird, like bloodshot eyes and everything.
When I brought my girlfriend there, it was pretty plain and evident that something in the house was not good. It's fairly evil. It's willing to cause physical harm to somebody.
Joey and I took a friend of mine, Josh, down there, and I had my back to like the dining area, and I didn't feel anything, and all of a sudden he just comes over and he's like, no, we're gonna go over here now.
I didn't want her back to it. When we got back to the house, I noticed something on her back. I was like, what is that? She looked in the mirror, and we looked closer at it. There's 3 scratches going right down her back. That's not normal. She didn't even notice they were there. She didn't even feel them.
When this happens to you, you feel like you've been violated. And I know this because it's happened to me. Something you did not see just walked up and touched you. Not just like touched you, but touched you in a harmful way.
Something has come back. If they tried to do a cleansing, they didn't cleanse it. They made them go dormant at best.
Trigger object right there.
the conditions are obviously changing. And having Tracy experience this at this home, we decided we need to go back
All right, we're leaving you again.
for a third investigation.
Do not have permission to follow us home.
When they returned to that place after our investigation that second time, it took on a whole new darkness.
There was 3 of us. We all decided to go to the basement. Halfway down the steps, and everybody can smell something rotting. There was a very large raccoon at the bottom of the steps that had had its head bashed in with what looked like a brick or a rock. It was still decomposing. We left after that. But there's not good things transpiring in that house.
In light of this, both Tom and I knew that our patience with this house was going to pay off big time. We came back on the night of not only a full moon, but a super moon. We brought our new Prove It member, Ryan, along with us on this investigation. And the very first things we do is we want that control mic sitting outside the house to monitor any sort of contamination that could be coming from outside. So Ryan marches out with the control mic to the garage, sets the thing down in the car, and then walks back into the house. You see Ryan coming back in through the door right there, and outside on the control mic, you continue to hear sounds going on in the garage as if somebody's moving around in it still.
We believe that before a sustained paranormal event, we will start recording these pops on our digital recording media. And sure enough, get this frequency pop, and then we start getting a series of movement noises.
Three frequency pops right at the beginning there. Very interesting. They didn't occur anywhere else in the investigation, but right here at the beginning, 3 frequency pops.
The sounds that really caught our attention were the ones that tended to be closer to the mic. Almost like something would just walk up to it and just give the microphone a quick tap. Part of me didn't want to go into this house just because I did personally see the picture of the scratch, and I actually have been scratched myself before. And I'll just go out and say it. In a lot of cases where there's 3 scratch marks like that, it's usually a demonic case.
Recording on static cam in the living room. That's pretty good.
Or, at the very least, a very vengeful entity. Did lead to a lot of my nervousness, and I was prepared to treat it with a lot of respect. The one thing that weirded me out, and Tom decided to bring this up on the way to the house, was that creepy drawing. It definitely is what nightmares are made of. But it has disappeared.
It was gone. It was not sitting on the counter. The candle was also gone.
I looked for it. It was not on the counter, and it's definitely unnerving, to say the least.
We continue our setup. Set up our battery experiment, our geophone that we have. while this is going on in the house, we're still getting all these movement noises out in the garage. Just odd noises that we have not recorded at any time since we've been out there. There was nothing in there. We made sure to check the garage to make sure that there were no animals in it.
Granted, the garage is going to make little settling noises, and little noises are going to come from my car as it's settling. I'm very familiar with the sounds that it makes when the engine's cooling off. And not all of this can be accounted for, I'm afraid.
Inside the home, after I set the REM pod down, turn around to go about my business, I get about 10 feet away from it, and then the REM pod starts going off.
Hello?
Just a brief REM pod interaction.
The REM pod just got very angry.
Whatever's in this home seemed to be very curious about what it is we were doing.
That's me.
This is very similar to how that first investigation started to happen. We're pretty methodical about our equipment setup, so we want to basically reproduce the same sort of strategy that we've been using at this house, with the staircase more or less being the center of focus there.
It's very important with any science, consistency, repetition, just to keep that added control.
So we're all set up. We've come here to communicate with you. We're going to leave some of our equipment here, which is not designed to hurt you in any way, only to facilitate our communication.
We just invite you to come out and interact with us.
We brought a FLIR camera with us to help us peer into the thermal image of our environment. You just pull the trigger, it takes a picture.
I just start taking pictures,
Should just be able to pull a trigger.
and this message pops up.
It says the memory card isn't present.
System error, SD card not installed.
They said there was one in there already. Hold on.
The FLIR camera can't take any pictures without that memory card in it.
Okay.
So it's important that we find it.
When I rented this piece of equipment, the SD card was already loaded into the unit.
Yeah, there should be a smaller card.
Memory card was not in the FLIR
I
camera.
don't see a smaller one.
So we go digging through the packaging, and there's the little case for the memory card. It's open. There's no memory card.
So
I'm not seeing the little card in there.
we're on this hunt for a little SD card that's no bigger than maybe a fingernail.
Let's see here.
We start looking around everywhere for it, because it's like, oh my god, this is the last thing we need, is to buy a FLIR camera right now, right? And then luckily, Tom finds the memory card laying there on the floor.
That is it.
Oh, thank God.
What is it doing on the floor?
Yeah, that's a smaller guy.
It was loaded in the FLIR camera. It doesn't just fall out of it.
There's a cover you have to open up. You have to push it, it has to pop out, and you have to physically pull it out of the camera. Now, how it got from the camera onto the floor,
Bam.
no idea.
Now we can take pictures.
Did it screw around with our memory card?
One could speculate that whatever was there didn't want us taking pictures of it.
All right. Good job. Hear that?
What's that?
Thump or movement noise?
I did. Around about this time, our accelerometer, our geophone, which is upstairs, starts recording light movement.
It's indicating that first little light of vibration, yet nobody's moving or saying anything.
Are you with us?
It's a very curious thing that it would do this.
All right. That's me. We have a series of devices here for you that you can walk up to. All right, I have this thing in my hand. Can you string together a series of syllables for us?
We have Ravelus in phonetic mode. It's a great mode to use just to listen to the changes in the environment.
If it starts spitting out a bunch of words or a bunch of phenoms, if it's in phonetic mode, it tells us that the energy is changed around this box.
The lights in the energy bar and the ovulus are just going crazy.
More often than not, it correlates with paranormal activity when it happens.
What is your name?
Whoa. Did that just say Patrick?
Kind of sounded like it.
Is that you, Patrick? Oh, I got the creeps super bad. Touch the silver stick in this little round device.
Definitely feeling the occasional draft.
Cut back to the control mic in the garage, these noises are still happening. We have seen this sort of thing. Scaryland is a really good example of this, where the control mic starts recording some weird stuff while we start experiencing weird stuff.
It is weird. It's weird that these sounds are so constant. Why it would mess with something that's not even near us. You know, we can't explain it.
Do you like the company?
The last time we were here, did you tell us to shut up? There's a lot we could do to maybe even help you. Did you tell us to shut up? Or did I hear that wrong?
Is that a yes? All right.
And then it happens again, we get more of the movement noises.
Did you tell us to shut up?
It's so satisfying.
Or did I hear that wrong?
Is that a yes? All right.
Not like one step or one knock. It's a combination of noises
Did you tell us to shut up?
that are being produced in this room
Or did I hear that wrong?
that is empty.
Is that a yes?
There's nothing to move in that dining room area. There's no objects in there for it to move. Just a disembodied movement noise.
If you've watched the Prove It Paranormal Orb special, you know how we feel about orbs.
We've never taken the position that orbs aren't real. It's just that the way that we document them is problematic because their characteristics can be shared by the sort of focal effects that can be created by dust and things like that when filming. Especially in infrared light, you get weird effects and things.
We did not have our dual camera rig. So according to our standards, this is not good evidence.
Unfortunately, we don't have the two planes of focus for you on this one, but I'm pretty suspicious of it, especially with all the activity happening around in that room at that time.
Are you over here in this front room?
We are still getting these movement noises literally in our presence. Ryan goes in there, it's happening right in front of him, there's nothing there.
That was terrifying. I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you very much.
You know how someone runs by you kind of feel that kinetic energy? That's what I felt.
We're very, very interested in you.
I heard it, obviously, and I was looking at the FLIR camera the whole time. There were no heat signatures of any kind.
If it could have been filmed, it would have been filmed. It was visible, unfortunately.
Check the closet, make sure that there are no animals, no nothing.
Okay,
Even though we've already checked the house.
there's no animals back in there.
Nothing there.
I just got the chills.
And I start getting a serious case
Well, back off.
of the creeps. When you're on an investigation, one of the first things that you need to rely on is your feelings.
All right. If you'd like one of us to stay.
Feel that?
Yes.
Feel that?
Yes.
That was amazing.
Give us a name through this box.
Something inside me compelled me to offer my own energy,
Pick me.
which is something I would not normally do, but I did,
I might even let you use some of my own energy.
in exchange for the spirit to manifest and communicate with us.
Are you playing games with us now?
Thank you.
Does nobody have their phone on them?
The entire room changed. It really felt electrified.
Is that Patrick playing with that?
You could definitely feel it on your body
We're
everywhere.
gonna go with Patrick. Is that okay? Thank you.
It was talking to us.
Do you like it when we come to visit you?
It is the one time
Is there anyone else here with you?
we've had an entity communicate with us through our REM pod directly.
Yes.
Is it a member of your family?
It was 60 seconds of back and forth spirit communication through a REM pod.
Not a member of your family?
Did we lose you?
And then it stopped. Just like that. It was done.
You still with us, Patrick?
The house felt empty. The energy in the air settled down. It had nothing left. To muster up the energy, it's got to be very difficult to be able to communicate with the living. I mean, look at all the energy we exert to try to communicate with them. Patrick, do we need to give you a rest while you find a way to recharge? Yep, after that we all needed to take a break because we were all feeling the intensity of the moment at that time.
Yeah, I think Ryan's got a good idea. We can give you a second. We'll come back in a little bit.
Alright. Thank you for talking with us.
Thank you.
So We go out to the garage, formulate a plan on doing our solo investigations.
Count of three. All right. 1, 2, 3. You're in the box, my friend.
Marty does his solo investigation.
Hopefully,
Okay, I'm going
whatever it was had enough energy left to communicate with one of us.
All right. 15, 20 minutes.
All right. All right, it's just me now.
He goes in the house,
Can you come to the stairs?
does his solo investigation.
If you come to the staircase, I might be able to see your signature.
It's a weird situation to be in because I know it's there.
This thing I'm holding in my hand is able to see heat and cold. Might be able to see you.
But it won't show itself to me.
You remember Joe and Jay? And Kathy?
It won't talk to me.
That's the living room you're seeing on the FLIR camera here. Just taking a look.
Sometimes I feel like I'm talking to the wall
I'm really just trying to see you here.
when I do this kind of stuff. Of course, it's really weird. You're not getting any responses.
Wish we could talk face to face.
It is EVP session.
Protector. It's me.
Nothing happens.
All right, dude. I'm gonna let you take over here.
And it's my turn.
There's FLIR.
I do my solo, ask all the EVP questions I can think of.
Somebody here with me?
Nothing. It's like this REM pod communication we had before our solo investigations sucked
Can you move the ball?
all of the energy out of the house.
I don't know, man.
Then it's our new guy's turn.
Nothing.
Yeah, I had the same experience. See if Ryan has any luck.
Right before he goes in there,
So how sturdy are the
Suddenly,
floors upstairs? That's why I haven't gone up
the
there.
energy inside the place just ramps up.
And wow, did we record some stuff inside. None of these noises recorded on our mics outside. This is happening inside.
We gotta play with it. I took some pictures in the different color palettes.
All three of us are outside. No one's in this house. These are completely autonomous, disembodied noises. With no explanation.
And our accelerometer continued to register slight vibrations upstairs.
But the unexplained movement noises, they weren't registering geophone hits. We don't even get geophone hits until we get to the top of the staircase at the landing and step right next to the thing. So what's causing the accelerometer to register vibrations?
So Ryan goes in, starts his solo investigation.
We had missed by like 1 minute some of these incredible noises.
So little did Tom and Marty know I was formulating a plan of how I was going to approach this.
Hey, Patrick.
Now, it's my turn.
I do understand that no one works for free.
Yeah.
What if I were to pay you for your time?
Takes $1, throws it on the ground next to the REM pod.
Can you reach for that money?
because he's figuring, $1 was a considerable amount of money back in the day of the wards. It was a good idea.
That's for you. All you have to do is reach out and grab it.
Right after he does this, he gets a REM pod hit.
Is that you, Patrick? Are you back?
We also found in our evidence review,
I think I just caught a light anomaly on the camera.
these two lights that spontaneously appear.
Hey, Patrick, is that you I just saw? Hey, Patrick, is that you I just saw?
I do believe he's provoking some kind of response here.
I would really like to pay you for your time if you want to take that money. You've been a hard worker today. You've earned it.
We're going to give you a minute of silence. If you want us to stay, just let us know right now.
This site, the Ward House, has been life-changing for us.
I will never forget investigating the Michael Ward house.
All right, really DB.
For the moment, I can see past
Very much.
all of the disturbing angles to this thing and just appreciate the fact that I was in communication with something that was invisible and communicating directly with me.
It was nice to visit you here, but you can't follow us home.
It's a very serious place.
Yeah, we do have to say goodbye, but we'll be back.
It's a constant itch in the back of my brain to understand and know it, because there's so many unanswered questions to it.
What happened to cause it to be so disturbed?
It's just a tough one. There's not much information on the place.
We're going to find out what happened. It does exist out there. We've looked for months, we just can't find it yet. But we're learning little bits and pieces every day. I just don't know how much more time we'll be allowed to have with this house. The state will probably come in and have it knocked down so that they can build their highway through it.
It's been there since 1870. Why should it get torn down? It's still structurally sound. There have been evidence of people going in there and vandalizing the home, putting marks in the walls, like somebody took a hatchet to the walls.
Windows have been broken. The furnace that we saw in the first episode, that's been for the most part destroyed, and all the copper's been stripped out. Vandals are really starting to take advantage of this property, unfortunately, and I just don't think it's going to be with us that much longer.
Unless we can communicate with something or someone that can tell us what happened there. That is, as I see it right now, our only chance of figuring out what happened before this house is destroyed, and any chance of resolving this is lost forever.